Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Sunshine Coast Regional District regular board meeting of Thursday, February 13th, 2020. It is 1:32 in the afternoon, and I'd like to call us to order. Thank you all for being here today, and I'd like to acknowledge that we are within the territory of the Shuswap First Nation. We have an amended agenda in front of us today. We added on a couple of items from our Planning and Community Development Committee meeting earlier today, as well as there's some items on there from the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee from earlier this week. So I hope everyone has their amended agenda in front of them today. So may I ask for a motion to adopt the amended agenda? So moved, seconded. Are there any other additions to this agenda? Nobody's making eye contact, so we're going to say okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. We have minutes from January 23rd and January 30th, 2020. I'm going to ask for a motion to receive and adopt both sets of minutes at the same time. So if you want to peruse those really quickly and see if there is any additions, errors, omissions, deletions that need to be done. Okay, so moved. Receipt and adopt of both sets of minutes. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Okay, seeing none. We have no presentations and delegations today. We have a lovely audience. Thank you so much for joining us. And you too, Sophie. We always love to have the media here. Sorry, that really came across backhanded. I did not mean it like that. Oh boy, I can just see the next headline. Can I have a motion to receive all the reports, please? So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. So we're first on our reports of the Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations, Annex C, pages 22 to 30 of the package. Before we move those as a block, directors, would you like to pull out any of those to further debate? Yes, Director Hiltz. Do you want to ask a question of a specific one? Do you want to ask it now? Yes, please.
My button. A recommendation number 4 on page 24. I see the school buses are using Marlene, so have they, that's my question, have they changed their route, and is the SCRD kind of in discussions with SD 46 in the bus route? I don't know if the school buses usually use Marlene.
Okay. So I'll put the question to our GM of Infrastructure Services, please.
Thank you for the question. I think there's no change in the bus route from SD 46 as far as I'm aware.
Director Hiltz, that takes care of your question? Okay. But for debate, does anyone want to pull out any of those to debate separately? So still in number 4, the Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt those recommendations. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. So moving 30A, this from Special Corporate Administrative Services Committee recommendations number 30, February 10th and 11th, the never-ending meeting that did finally end, and yet continues with budget. So can I have a motion to adopt? So moved, seconded. Any further discussion on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, and 4B, earlier today, the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendation number 8 on page 30B. May I have a motion to adopt? So moved, seconded. Any further discussion on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Great. We have no communications, we have motions, but we have bylaws, Director Ties. That's one. So, the very first one on our package, Annex D, pages 31 to 33, is Sunshine Coast Regional District Sewage Treatment Facilities Service Unit Amendment Bylaw, number 428.20, 2020. May I have a motion for first reading, please? So moved and seconded? Sorry. The participants are the rural areas A, B, D, E, and F. So I have a motion for first reading from Area F. And may I have a seconder? Sorry? Okay, do you want to second it? Or I see a seconder. Director McMahon, you had a question?
Just wondering why not all the sewage facilities are in here? Wood Creek Park is not?
Okay. I will go over to our corporate officer for that. I believe because it's a different bylaw. It's a different bylaw.
Thank you, Chair. It is bylaw 430. I think it's the next one in the
Yep.
agenda.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So that was moved and seconded for first reading. All those in favor? Motion carries. May I have a motion for second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Sewage Treatment Facilities Service Unit Amendment Bylaw number 428/2020. So moved. Seconded. Have a seconder, please. Seconded. All those in favor? Rural areas? Motion carries. Okay, Annex D, third reading, Sunshine Coast Regional District Sewage Treatment Facilities Service Unit Amendment Bylaw number 428.20, 2020. Motion for third reading, please. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. And adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Sewage Treatment Facilities Service Amendment Bylaw number 428.20, 2020. So move adoption. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Great. One down. Oh, all right, then. Annex E, pages 34 to 35 of your package. Wood Creek Park. May I have a motion for first reading of Wood Creek Park Sewer User and Rates Amendment Bylaw number 430.11, 2020. This is voting all directors. Motion for first reading. Seconded. It's because it only affects one area. Yep. Okay? So call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. May I have a motion for second reading of Wood Creek Park Sewer User Rates Amendment Bylaw number 430.11, 2020. Move second reading. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, and may I have a motion for third reading of Wood Creek Park Sewer User Rates Amendment Bylaw number 430.11, 2020. It's a drinking game he came up with. So move third reading, seconded. Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries. And may I have a motion to adopt Wood Creek Park Sewer User Rates Amendment Bylaw number 430.11, 2020. So moved adoption. And seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, team. Next, we have another bylaw. We have it's page 36 to 37 of the package. And so may I have a motion for, this is going to be voting areas B, D, E, and F. So may I have a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.22, 2020. So moved. Seconded. Seconded. All those in favor? B, D, E, and F. Motion carries. And may I have a motion for second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.22, 2020. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. And for third reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.22, 2020. So moved. Third reading. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. And move adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.22, 2020. So moved adoption. Mark, it's your turn. Yep. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, great. Next, Annex G, the Painted Boat Sewage Treatment Facilities Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 644.4, 2020. This is all directors, pages 38 to 39 of your package. May I have a motion for first reading, please? So moved. Seconded. You have a question? Okay. So do you second it, though? Okay. Do you want to ask that question now, then, Director Lee?
Yes, if I may. This was the one where the manager of the Painted Boat asked why he was paying so much for nothing, and I never did understand the answer. Are we doing something different at the Painted Boat than we are doing at the other places?
Okay.
And if so, what is that? I was wondering.
And if I'll go over to our GM of Infrastructure, please.
Thank you very much for this question. Staff have recently been engaged with the person in question as well, and the issue is, or the answer is that we are providing, we actually are managing two wastewater plants there, one for the strata and residents and one for the restaurant. And so we're operating a separate treatment plant for the restaurant as well as a septic field, especially for the restaurant. So that's why there's an additional cost, and they're separated out here.
Yes, follow up.
Does he actually get one of his? Does he do some of the stuff on the septic on one of these systems, or?
He has a septic tank that he manages, but not the treatment plant itself or the septic field. That's operated and owned by us, by the SRD.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Great. Okay. So I'm going to call the question. Voting all directors, and this is on first reading. All those in favor? Motion carries. And for second reading of Painted Boat Sewage Treatment Facilities Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 644.4, 2020. So move second reading. Thank you. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Painted Boat Sewage Treatment Facilities Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 644.4, 2020. Move third reading, please. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. And for adoption of Painted Boat Sewage Treatment Facilities Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 644.4, 2020. So moved. Adoption. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Woo! Okay. Oh, one more. Annex H, pages 40 to 41 of your package. And we have Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment System Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 714.2, 2020. And this is going to be all directors, one vote each. May I have a motion for first reading, please? So moved. Seconded. Director Lee, please ask your question.
I just would like to clarify that we upped the frontage charge a little bit so that we could help with the user charges. Is that a correct assumption? The reason I'm asking is I note in last year it was $418.20 and this year it's $670.27, and I understand that the logic being that these things age whether you're using them or not. So that was a way to help with the aging fee. Do I have that part right?
I will go over to staff for an answer, please.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. If I understand the question correctly, this was a little bit of an alignment as well for this particular service. So the user charges were offset for the frontage. So frontage almost acts as like a parcel tax, and that's to pay for capital. And so even though we've just had this particular one online, it is several years old. And so, yes, we're trying to make it similar to the other facilities where we have some funds in reserves for future capital requirements.
Okay, great. Okay, so that is, that bylaw is now on the floor for first reading. So I'm going to call the question. And once again, it's all directors voting. All those in favor? Motion carries. And now for second reading of Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment Systems Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 714.2, 2020. May I have a motion for second reading? So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. And for third reading for Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment Systems Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 714.2, 2020. So moved, third reading. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. And finally, for adoption of Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment Systems Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 714.2, 2020. So moved, adoption. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you all. Okay, no more bylaws popping their way up right now? We're good? Excellent. Perfect. Next thing on our agenda is director's reports. And I am actually as everybody madly writes on everything they've been doing the last couple of weeks, I'm actually going to ask our alternate electoral area director from Area F, Camilla Berry. She attended the EA forum last week, and I'd just like to invite her up if she'd like to give just a little synopsis of how she felt about the EA forum. If you want to come up to the microphone, please. Or you can use one of the ones over here. Or you can sit there with us at the table. Yes. I'm using my purview as chair. Yeah. Chair prerogative. So, yes.
So thank you very much for allowing me to go. I felt quite privileged. There are the two things that I found very interesting. One was actually the discussion about alternate directors that they had, that I do understand the logic of having another elected official be an alternate. But I'm very grateful. I thought that if this is the last term that this happens, I'm very happy that I have an opportunity to do this, because I don't think just reading minutes or even coming to meetings, you can really fully understand how the regional district works, how it interacts with the Islands Trust, how it interacts with the province. Like, you get this very intimate view. You can actually watch it happen, and it's a part of the reason why I want to do this. So deeply appreciative of that. In terms of overall impressions, I do want to say that in the beginning, I was a little taken aback at how intense a lot of the elected directors were when they were addressing the provincial representatives. And after about a full day of equivocal and nebulous government rhetoric, I think I understood why they were there, because there's certain things that I would like to see. I mean, I would have loved to see provincial representatives just showing up and then having to answer questions, because I did pick up like a certain degree of frustration that I understand. And then I think that that's about it. I have taken a lot of notes. There are certain things that I'm actually following up on in terms of research, in terms of the emergency plan, certain topics that came up. So again, I say that I'm very grateful that I was allowed to go, and I think that that's it.
Thank you very much, alternate Director Berry. Thank you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to see who makes eye contact first, and then you'll be Director Toth.
Might as well get it over with. I don't have a whole lot to report. I was at LGLA last week. I don't have my report put together from that yet. I got to get that done by tomorrow afternoon so I can get it into a council agenda. I did end up missing a public hearing for a rezoning in Sechelt while I was away. And in fact, I missed a whole council meeting, so hopefully Director Seegers will speak to stuff that happened there. I'm really looking forward to the Grantham's Hall reopening tomorrow and having the ear of our local MP for a little bit. So.
Thank you, Director Toth. Director Kroll, you made eye contact. You're next.
Oh, you really are serious about it? People are going to be counting cracks in the ceiling tiles. It's been relatively quiet. We've had, I think, one council meeting since we last met as a board. A couple of the issues came up, the building code step plan, which the board sort of was made party to. And we're looking forward to that moving forward. On Friday, there was a science fair held at the Gibson's Elphinstone High School. And it was really a bit of an eye-opener, the depth and level to which some of the students engaged. Like, there were some grade 4 students who came across as sort of, well, I think the one fellow announced what he was going to be studying for his PhD. He was sort of that committed. But their presentations were really well done. It was really quite exciting to see what students at that age are interested in and committed to. The number of projects on climate change, fire, earthquakes. Directors McMahon and Ties were there as well, and I'm sure they might care to add to some of the exhibits that they visited. But it was really well done. And sadly, Director McMahon and Ties missed the excellent lunch that was put on by the catering team and Chef Barry. Other than that, it's been relatively quiet.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Kroll. Director McMahon.
Sure, it's important to get in because otherwise other people have used up all the good stuff. So I'm a member of the Climate Caucus, as is Director Ties, and so I attended a Zoom meeting with their forestry group. It's actually a pretty interesting group, mostly based in BC, and they have some foresters in there, and there was good information to be had. So I will be following up with them. I attended Drinks for the Future at the Gumboot Cafe. I missed the eelgrass presentation at the town of Gibson's. I was sorry to miss that, but I did. The report is online on their website, and it's quite interesting, and it's not good news. The eelgrass beds are declining quite dramatically over the last 5 years. There is going to be another marine report on Town of Gibson's agenda next week, but it's not as detailed, but it has pretty pictures. I also attended the Electoral Area Directors Forum in Richmond. I actually found it a fairly frustrating event, partly because I think that nobody clarified the objectives of the event before I went, so I wasn't really sure what the point of the exercise was, and by the time we were finished, I still wasn't entirely sure what the point of the exercise was. We had a lot of presentations from provincial government staff on various topics, and that's fine, but, 2 days of being lectured did not put me in totally the best frame of mind. I would have liked more structured opportunities to engage with other rural directors about how we're dealing with the same issues in different parts of the province, and some clear avenues for advocacy. And talking of problems across the province, MOTI was not there. That is the one ministry that I really want to talk to. There were some good presentations on the Emergency Act review and the ALR review. The agricultural team actually did a very good presentation. And I just wanted to state in general that I am really annoyed that all these government conferences we go to, most of them do not publish their agenda before the early registration deadline. And sometimes it's only days before the event. And that talk about worst practices. How are you supposed to decide whether there's value in the event? You're supposed to sign up because you have faith that they'll come up with something great? I don't know. I was on the local government show on cable TV with directors Kroll and Lee and Ties. Of course, it was very exciting. And then I watched the show later on reruns to see how we looked. Yeah. I dropped in on the science fair. That grade 4 kid is going to be an astrophysicist. I don't doubt it in the least. Last night, I had the Elphinstone Community Association meeting where they were a lot less concerned with taxes than they were with curbside organics pickup. It's pretty much the whole town of Gibson's experience all over again with a sort of a aggressive rural twist.
Aggressive rural twist.
And I read the report that came out, I think, yesterday from Sheila Malcolmson on the marine debris report. You remember that she came around and did public consultation. So that report is out. It's interesting. It's mercifully brief. It gives a very good outline of the issues, but I found it disappointing in terms of recommendations. And partly that's because the report is very narrowly focused on things that the provincial government can address, which, of course, is really limited. And I would have liked some additional recommendations on what they would like the federal government to address. Because, for instance, styrofoam was not addressed in their recommendations, and we urgently need action on styrofoam. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Ties.
Thank you, Chair. Well, February started off with a bang with the Lowell Road washout. I don't think we might have had a board meeting since then, but I'm basically there on a daily basis because it's just a couple hundred meters away from my driveway. So it's I have to say they're working hard at it. My last picture had probably about 20 vehicles parked there, so that probably means 20 people were working on site. I don't think many of them carpool. And a couple of excavators. They're putting in a whole lot of rock, and I don't think they have the full solution yet. There's a very steep ravine towards the house that's currently under evacuation order, or the foundation that's under evacuation order because they had just started building. And I don't think there's any solution for that property at this point in time. But I talked to Colin on Monday, and he said, we were hoping to have it done by the end of the week, but now we see that the culverts are rusted out, so we probably need to replace all the culverts, so that'll set us back a little bit more. But they're certainly working hard, and he seems fairly optimistic it'll be done in short order rather than months, which I had anticipated. So, yeah, yesterday they were moving the gas line, the gas main. So Fortis had the whole site locked off to themselves, so they were working at it pretty hard. Anyway, so that's the Lower Road washout. On February 7th, I met with Nicholas Simons as well as ELF and the Living Forest Institute. And I essentially, what I'm going to try to tell basically all the stakeholder groups involved, whether it's the Living Forest Institute, whether it's ELF, whether it's the Trail Society, whether it's the mountain bikers, is that we need to, just one party or two parties basically railing against the provincial government does seem to be getting any results. So I think we need more collaboration across all the stakeholders and trying to get them to gear up for the land use plan by just collecting data as to how their usage patterns are, where they, what the economic impact is, and all that kind of stuff. So with that intent, I'm going to go to the Trail Society meeting on March 2nd, and I'm going to try to impart that on them as well to start collecting data, because if you don't have data, then you're not going to be at the table, I don't think, and you're not going to get your interests met. That's at least my opinion, but that's what I'm going to try to tell everybody. I was also at the science fair. It was very impressive. I think it was a really great initiative, and I was very impressed, especially with some of the elementary students who were just super passionate about it. And my favorite display, though, was the liquefaction one, and I think they should take that to Richmond and put it on display. I think we're going to hear some more about the buses changing route, and I think there's a petition in the making. I had a rather angry lady call me yesterday. And I do commiserate with her a little bit, because while there's a walking path through Icolon to get to Margaret, there is no walking path between Flume and Marlene. And so you essentially are relegated to either walking along Beach at the bottom, which is a very long walk around, or you walk along the highway at the top to get over to Marlene, or you cross the highway to get to your bus stop, which is quite dangerous. So essentially, you're not taking just Flume out of the equation. You're taking Margaret out as well, and then the people at Henderson have even further to go. And Park as well. So it is cutting out a big chunk of Robbers Creek, and I looked at it on Google Maps, and it doesn't look like there's a walking path between Margaret and between Marlene and Flume. So, which is unfortunate. But I also, said to her that it's also very important that we listen to our staff and their safety concerns, and so that that's something that we'll have to weigh as well, and I don't think that debate's over yet. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Lee.
You
maybe
waited too
not.
long.
No.
Now I've got a whole page. Tonight at the Back Eddy Pub, BCTS and Saneco are going to meet with the Residents Association and the Community Club. Those are two organizations in Egmont that basically represent pretty much all the residents there. Going to be two smaller meetings of 20, probably leading up to a town hall meeting subsequently. And I got a personal invitation from BCTS, Tom Johnson, who knew about my comments in the paper already. So I'm actually looking forward to that. It's 6 o'clock tonight at the Back Eddy Pub. Went to the Residents Association meeting. You know part of it already. I told you about that. But they also have kind of changed their position, and they would really like to engage with the Dead Boat Society now. So they're quite looking forward to a meeting that we were going to arrange between all participants. I'm not sure when that meeting's going to be, though, but hopefully soon. On the last two boats they did, the contractor was actually $10,000 short. There was no further money from any, so he actually probably broke even because the barge company that contracted actually cut him a break as well. So no profit, but might have broke even. That was, and they're actually very eager to start partnering with the SCRD and developing some road ends and hopefully some government land that's put aside for ocean and lake access. And so hopefully we can push that forward. I did mention that we had left it in there. It's with them right now to tell us which one they want to work on. So they now are going to get with it. I found that elected area meeting very much what Donna said. except I was very impressed with the people that talked about the ALC and the multiple housing and their attitude. Meet with the people, see what they want, keep the farms alive. It was definitely very refreshing to see that attitude. And boy, do I wish I had an agenda earlier. I probably would have stayed for the second half after hearing how it went. But without an agenda, how the heck do you know? The local government show was very interesting. Fortunately, Director Taz McMahon and Kroll were well prepared, so they carried me along. But I'd like you to know I promised that we'd get all 133 projects done.
The board thanks you, staff thanks you.
And
Plus the carryovers.
yeah. Someone mentioned it to me shortly after the camera was turned off. And finally, Patrick Wheelers, our federal MP, is coming up to the Legion tomorrow. He's going to come from the hall dedication up to there. And everybody's welcome. It's open to the public. So if you'd like to come, it starts at noon at the Madeira Park Legion. It's sponsored by the Rotary, but it's open to the public. And Patrick's going to talk, but more importantly, he's also going to answer some questions. So it should be an interesting event. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, okay, yeah, I caught your eye. You're next.
Your eye too, Chair. Thank you very much. I'm going to start off by just saying thanks to alternate director Barry for participating in the training that's available to elected officials. And I was at LGLA last week, and I just find them turning points for me. They're high quality training that's available to locally elected officials, and so I got three takeaways from that. Change is coming fast, and successful communities are able to adapt and change. If you don't adapt and change, you're not a successful community. And along with that line is, in order to be a successful community, you need inclusive leadership, decision making, which is more difficult to do. And then the third little tidbit is that gas tax funding isn't actually funded by gas tax anymore. As of when it was made permanent in 2013, it just comes out of general revenue. So they just didn't change the title of it. So it's gas tax, but we don't have to worry about saving fossil or going electric and not reducing our taxation and gas tax funding. So that was a new thing. Number 3, I'm now the appointed liaison for the Gibsons and District Public Library, and there was a meeting last week or earlier this week, and it was interesting that the board is doing a self-evaluation. They do an annual self-evaluation. They have it in their policies, and they have templates, and which is also supported by the BC Library Trustees Association. And the AGM for the GDPL is Saturday, March the 9th. Last night was the West Howe Sound Community Association, where I was the feature there to answer questions, and we went for about an hour and a half, and it was really great. Lots of good feedback, explaining the budget, and there's lots more work to do around that one. Let's see. Grantham's Hall, thanks to staff and this whole organization. That's been a long project, and I hear it's a beautiful building, and people are just thrilled to get into that and turn on the new appliances, flush the toilets, and make sure it goes into the right places and this kind of stuff. And to see the young kids who might be there in 80 years from now to do this all over again. I just keep hearing from the community, you won't believe what's going to happen tomorrow. So I don't know what that means, but we're all excited. I think people are going to show up, is what they mean. Nothing bad. We're going to eat cupcakes.
Well, considering I have to MC the event, or I have the privilege of MCing the event, I should say.
And I was speaking with Karen Careless, who has been a lead person in this, and Karen hopes to be the first user of the handicap accessible ramp into the Grantham's Hall. She's going to be the first person to ride in there with her scooter. That's what she's figuring. So, yeah. And she's giving a presentation as well, I understand.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. That leaves you, because I can't do eye contact with myself.
All right, what have I got? Council meeting, staff came forward and requested direction from council with regards to the trellis proposal. The proposal is almost identical to what they came with, 4 years ago or so when they came before us. Unanimous support to move it forward as quickly as possible. So we'll be seeing something come back to us on that. Sechelt Public Library AGM is February 22nd. So for those of you who help fund that, please look in your communities for board members. You cannot be nominated at the meeting. You have to be nominated ahead of time. So just put that out there. And what else has been happening? The Community Action Team has hired their new coordinator. It's Megan Burrows. She's coming over here from the North Shore. She works with a doctors group over there on opioid kinds of issues. So first meeting was held on the 4th. Good turnout. We're looking at what the budget's going to be and moving that forward. So if you're on that team, watch for the next meeting to come forward. I had the opportunity to speak as one of the women at the Canadian Federation of University Women gathering. It was on the 6th. There were 3 of us. So it was me, Jean Bennett, past dean from Capilano University, and Poppy Hallam, our staff sergeant. So they gave us some questions. We had to answer the questions in a speech, and then it was open to the floor. It was a lot of work, because it was a lot of self whatever beforehand, and then but the questions were good. Very engaged audience. We had about 60 women there, I think. And Friday, as you've probably heard, Batch 44 had their soft opening, and then the official opening on Saturday. And every day I've been going by there, and the parking lot is full. So they're really doing a good job there. What else? Yesterday I had the opportunity to stop in here and kick off the International Women and Girls in Science Day. So I had other meetings I had to get to, but I was fascinated by the presentations the staff were putting on. I never knew what the numbers on the plastic bottles and things meant. I didn't know that. I didn't know what 1 and 2 and 3 meant. I didn't know. I knew there were different plastics, but what they indicated to the group was that it actually indicates the molecular composition of the plastic that makes up the item. So that was kind of cool to learn. So I was like, I want to go. I want to listen to what they have to say. They did a great job. They, commend the staff. Great job on the GIS. I got to see the GIS information, and then they started talking about solid waste and, all of the various ways that science is involved in everything that we do. So it was a lot of fun. Commend them for that. What else? Grantham is opening tomorrow. We have a meeting, District Sechelt Council has a meeting with Patrick Weiler tomorrow as well. So we'll be bringing forward some of the same issues that were brought here and others that we have as well. And I think that's it. Sechelt Chamber has their AGM next week as well. And it was supposed to be Minister Trevina, but it's now Nicholas Seibitz who'll be speaking, guest speaker there. So open to the public. Thanks.
Terrific. I will conclude the director's reports with, I was at the EA Forum and the LGLA Forums last week. The theme of LGLA was inclusive. In a nutshell, is inclusive, and how to create inclusivity within your communities. I was a panelist for one of the sessions on women in politics. So I was able to plug our Sunshine Coast Women's Caucus and our success with getting women elected to local government on the Sunshine Coast. And I also discussed the Women's Campaign School that we had almost 2 years ago now. And just how we support women, elected women here on the coast, and just how important it is. to support each other, and have made a variety of connections. And it sounds like we're actually going to be starting a network of for local government elected women across the province. So, which is really neat. So we're just seeing how that's going to work out. I earlier this month signed my first emergency alert and evacuation orders for the flooding in Roberts Creek, and that was interesting, and to go through that process. And as we're still in that process, and it was interesting to explain to my dad, who lives in Alberta, and he's like, "But that's in Roberts Creek," because they saw it in the news there. And I'm like, "Well, Dad, that's my area." And he goes, "What is it that you do again?" And it's just, it kind of blew his mind a little bit. So that was interesting. That's been an interesting process to go through. With all of the budget work earlier this week, I'd just like to once again thank staff for all of the work, all of the great conversation, the candid conversation. It's I know you put a lot of work into this, and you've had a lot of asks, and we've had a lot of really tough conversations around this table, and I've really appreciated all of those very candid conversations that we've had, and it's tough, but we need a lot of investment, and we need a lot of investment in our community in order to bring more water on, look after these wastewater projects, look after the landfill. So there's a lot that we need to do. I stopped by yesterday for the gathering that Director Seegers was talking about here with the Women in Science in the SCRD, and it was really inspiring. I wasn't able to stay too long because I then had to go to a Rotary Club meeting and speak on my role in government and in how that relates to respect. But it gave me an opportunity to really reflect on all of the conversations we've had this week, and using that word collaboration and tough conversations, but doing it all in a very respectful way, and with bringing our new CAO on board, and just saying, we've done a lot of work on this year, and just I don't know how much you all know how much I appreciate not just the directors here at the table, but the staff as well, and we've got a lot of really big things that we're moving forward, and it's not just projects, it's also how we work together. It is the culture that we breed here, and the relationships that we build, and just how incredibly important it is, not just for government, but for the community as a whole, because we all live and work here, and we all love it here, and we want to continue to build a community together, and that it takes a lot of work, and we can have laughs or drinking games at bylaw. How many times the chair says bylaw during a meeting? I'm very well hydrated. But we've done a lot of work, and we continue to build on that because it's the right thing to do, and I truly believe that, and I thank you for your continued support, and as hard as things can sometimes be, because social media has just has their own animal. That sometimes just needs to be put to bed at night, or during the day, or in the morning, or put to sleep in some cases, humanely, but or not, but because but I do believe we're doing the right things. We're making some really tough decisions, and but it's really important for the future of our community as we move forward. So I just want to extend my gratitude to you all. Throughout our organization and throughout our municipalities, and our communities. We've got a lot going on. Yes, Director McMahon.
I'm wondering if I could flag some business arising from directors' reports.
We'll allow.
Yeah, the washout situation. You know, we've had the washout in Roberts Creek, the Niagara of Granthams, and last year, of course, the washout in my area. And it's on everybody's minds. The citizens are understandably very concerned. So my question is, how can we ramp up our advocacy efforts with MOTI? Because we've got a really big problem here, and it's getting worse, and people are afraid, and people are now losing their properties. So I'm not sure how exactly we can do this, but we really need to do it.
Well, and we do have that motion on stormwater management that is going to AVICC, but maybe it's worth, with the emergent situation we've had in numerous areas across, maybe it is worth a letter to, yes?
I was thinking more like a meeting.
More like a meeting?
Yeah.
Request a meeting?
Yeah, request a meeting with MOTI to
Okay.
talk about stormwater management issues in the rural areas.
Okay. Do you wish to make that as a motion?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure what level is the most appropriate level. There's two issues. One concerns roads, and the other one concerns subdivisions. In my mind, at least, they're both part of that picture. It's not roads alone.
Okay. I'm going to look to staff and who'd like to take that one?
We could request a meeting for the board with the minister, if that's something the board would like.
All right. Moved and seconded? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Good. That's, yeah, with those subject items on there. Corporate officer got those? Okay, good. Great. Any other business arising from director's reports? No? Okay, any new business? Director Corolla, did I see your hand kind of go up a little?
You're very perceptive. If we were going to invite the minister to a meeting, it might be nice if in the invitation she offered enough time in her visit that she could actually have a first-hand tour of some of these problems. It's one thing to sit in a room and talk about them, but I know going way back when, and it was Ministry of Transport too, when Gordon Wilson was trying to get improvements to the highway. He brought the minister over here, put the minister in a truck, and drove him up the road. And it was very quickly after that that we saw some funds coming forth to deal with issues.
I drive it fast. I drive it all the time. Okay, but either way, whether we can get her here or meet there, I think we've got enough, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we have no other new business, but we are going to be going in camera, so I'm going to ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with sections 91A, C, or no, sorry, 91 C, G, and K of the Community Charter. So moved, seconded, all those in favor? Motion carries.